It's long been said in Apex Legends that in order to win a game, you need to play aggressive and hot drop. So I've decided to put this theory to the test. I put my ranked points on the line to do 25 hot drops and 25 safe drops. So we can finally find out if this is theory or fact. So let's start with the definition of a hot drop. So for the sake of this test, in order to keep it as fair as possible, I've made my own definition of a hot drop. As the hot zone doesn't necessarily mean there'll be anyone else dropping with us, we're going to be instead measuring a hot drop based on time. If I get into combat within the first 1 minute of hitting the ground, I would then count that as a hot drop. I also played all 50 games in ranked. Most were played around the Plat 1 to Plat 3 level, and I played with random teams in every single game. That rank is a reasonable challenge for me, especially when I'm playing with randoms. So if you're relatively comfortable in your current rank, you could expect similar results. And equally, if you don't play ranked at all, this is still a good indication of whether you should hot drop or not to get the best result in each game. So now let's get into what data I gathered and what metrics I'll be judging the games by. So the first thing I decided to record is the game placement. So the overall placement at the end of a match that my squad got. This is to track how many wins that I got, but it's also important because a better placement means more points. In fact, if you place above the top 10, you can get anywhere between 12 to 100 ranked points in one game. The second metric we have is the amount of kills I got in a game, and in fact, kills are super important in ranked. There is a kills modifier, which means dependent on your placement, you would get more points per kill. Currently, the modifier is capped at 5 kills, and if you were to get all 5 kills, depending on where you placed, you can get anywhere between 50 or 125 RP. In fact, in ranked, assists count towards this modifier, and because of that, we will be counting assists as kills. And lastly, the third metric would be the ranked points that we either gain or we lose within that game. So for me, playing around Platinum, the entry fee for a game is 36 points, so I enter the game, start the game with minus 36 points. Meaning, if I got 0 kills, I would have to have a placement of 4th just to break even with the entry fee. This also means the maximum ranked points I can get in one game is 184. So now let's get to the results. Just before I do that, I'm just going to take some time right now to ask you really nicely if you could consider subscribing to my channel and liking the video. Put a lot of effort into these videos and in fact lost a lot of points because of this video in particular, and I'd really appreciate your support. So in front of you scrolling right now is all the results from all the games that I did. But instead I've made some handy bar charts, and as you can see, this is one for the average placement between the 50 games. So, as we may or may not have expected, with the hot drops, we had a much lower average rank, being 10th, 10.52 to be exact. And this most likely comes down to the fact that hot drops tend to be dangerous, right? So you don't win them all, and in fact, if you do win them, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get third-partied 5 seconds later. We've all had them complete nightmares in Skull Town when the teams just don't stop coming. And I've got some really cool, interesting stats for you right now, which is for 11 of the hot dropping games, I had a place of 10 or higher, so I was in the top 10 teams. Whereas with the safe drops, I was in the top 10 a staggering 22 times, meaning I only had 3 games where I didn't rank in the top 10. So in fact, based on rounding up and down, you could almost say that we, on average, ranked 5 places higher when we did non-hot drops. But placement isn't everything in ranked. In fact, lots of more things come into it. So let's move on now to the kills. So this one was probably the most surprising statistic I got out of this entire experiment. Okay, first thing I noticed was my KD is completely terrible. So it seems that we did get more kills while doing hot drops, but in fact the difference was so small, I don't know if it would even change much in the points. And I slightly wish that I wrote down how many knocks that I got as well, because it'd be interesting to see how many of them hot drops actually equated to more kills, but because we didn't finish the team, we didn't get the points. But in fact, I can tell you that I only had 5 games within the hot drops where I didn't get a kill, whereas I had 9 games where I didn't get a kill in the not hot drops. So we can safely assume hot drops bring more consistent kills, but not hot drops mean you'll get a lot more kills because of how long the game goes on, and the higher placement from naturally dropping safe. So lastly, let's look at the ranked points we gained or did not gain whilst doing these 25 hot and safe drops. So straight away we can see that safe drops completely blow hot drops out of the water when it comes to playing for points. Throughout my 25 hot drop games, I only managed to gain 129 points, but within my 25 safe drop games, I gained a staggering 561 ranked points. That's 335% more than the hot drops. So here's all them stats again side by side, and although we can see if you're playing for points that dropping safe is definitely a better option, there is in fact another way of looking at these stats altogether. So what I'm getting at is that the kills are the same between the safe and the hot drops, meaning if you're doing the hot drops, you're probably getting a lot more action because you're ending the game a lot sooner but having as many fights. So if you're playing the game just to pew kill as many people as you can, then it doesn't really matter whether you hot drop or you don't. And I guess maybe that's just another thing that makes Apex Legends so great. So to reiterate this entire video, if you're playing for points, don't hot drop. If you're playing for fun, do whatever you want. So thanks so much for making it this far. Big props to you. Please consider liking and commenting and subscribing. I'll see you guys next time. I've also just made a Twitter where I'm talking about Apex, and if you want to come talk to me, you can follow me down at Twitter. I'll put it in the comments. Cool guys, I'm going to bed. Good night.
It's not you, it's me.